All right, good evening. Welcome to the January 12th, 2026 NSA Ad Hoc meeting. I'm going to go ahead and start off by going over the agenda for tonight. We're going to go over our plan of action milestones, which is another name for a timeline. We're going to go over the CMC statement. Our in-house counsel is not going to be able to join us, so that's primarily going to be done by myself and the chair of the commission when he's able to join us. And if there's time, we're going to go over some talking points for the CMC, which is a case management conference itself. But I have a feeling we may not have time to do that. Thank you, Vice Chair Booker, for joining us. And just going over what we're going to discuss tonight. This is a copy of the agenda. Just was saying how we're going to go over the timeline, the CMC statement. It's not a draft anymore. Delete that. And if there's time, we'll get to talking points for the actual event. So with that, let's take a look at the timeline. All right, so tonight is the 12th. The statement's being submitted to the city attorney's office tomorrow. We had originally moved next Monday's meeting to next Tuesday, January 20th, due to Martin Luther King Day being a federal holiday. But since we have the city council meeting where they're going to be discussing my reappointment and the chair's reappointment, I wanted to discuss with everyone whether or not we could move the meeting to the 21st, which is Wednesday, or we can potentially scrap the meeting altogether and we can just discuss the case management conference talking points at our general commission meeting during the ad hoc readout next Thursday. What are people's thoughts on that? Because after that, after the 22nd, we only have one opportunity to meet as a group, at least scheduled to meet as a group, next Monday the 26th, and the case management conference is on Tuesday the 27th. Would you all be available to meet on the 21st if necessary?
Yeah, I'm available. Let me make sure, but I'm sure I am.
Commissioner Booker? Mike, are you available on the 21st?
I might be in transit. It looks like
Here, give me one sec. Go ahead,
it,
Sean.
it looks like I have an appointment, personal appointment, but I could be done by 6. Are you still thinking 6 o'clock?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I might be in, I will definitely be in transit, but maybe I could just hop on my phone.
Arlo and I will not be available. There's a discipline matrix ad hoc at 6 on Wednesday the 21st.
And chair is chair of that ad hoc, isn't he?
He is
That goes from what, 6 to 7?
6 to 7:30.
Mm. Mm. Well,
And what would the agenda be, you said, Commissioner Foreman?
go over talking points for the CMC itself. Maybe we don't need to do it. What we did last time, talking points are, there's kind of two pieces to the CMC. We have our statement, and then we have what the chair of the commission is going to go and say to the judge. So the talking points are helping the chair form what he wants to say to the judge. Last time, it seemed like it was very helpful. We met twice the week leading up to the actual CMC. Like we didn't want to skip a meeting in order to do it. So, but maybe doing it, discussing it at the general meeting on the 22nd is good enough. Unless people want to meet on, I know you can't meet Micah,
Mhm.
but unless, I'm not sure if you can meet Director Lawson either on MLK Day.
I can't meet that day. No, I won't be available MLK Day.
You
Oh,
will
well,
not?
in the evening, well, I may be at 6. I'll be in Sacramento during the day. I may be back by 6.
Okay. Shawana, what do you think about that?
Mm, I don't prefer it.
I don't either. I really don't want to meet then either, but I'm just trying to think of like when we could do it.
I
Uh,
mean,
You
yeah.
you
The
can have
there's
the discussion on the 22nd, even in closed session, because it's NSA related, and it is appropriate to have that discussion there. I've already confirmed that with our legal team today.
yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, that's the contingency, like it says here, to discuss it at the general meeting, um, but just to have everyone from the ad hoc in one place discussing it. Um,
Well, if you could have Zervon and Tony join
I know
you
that
for that
because they're at
portion.
that meeting on the 22nd. No, I get that, but I just want to finalize whether or not people are able to meet on the 19th, if that's what we want to do. Because yeah, that's a good point. Because I realize that that they're going to be presenting on the 22nd. They're going to be at the meeting, right? But could you do that on the 19th, Shawana, if that's what other people want to do as well?
Potentially, but
Okay.
I would prefer a day of rest. But potentially, if we really need it, I mean, the person that would need it the most is Ricardo.
Yeah, and
So
we'll
he
leave,
said he's looking for the link. I
well,
don't
we'll leave
know.
it up to him.
Micah, can you text it to him?
Oh, for the
Let me
meeting?
see. Yeah.
Because he's having a hard time finding.
Okay. Yeah, but like you said, the person who it is to help is Ricardo. So we're going to
Yeah,
leave it up to him. But in case we do feel like after this meeting that we really need a strictly ad hoc members meeting,
yeah.
we at least want to see whether or not people are available on the 19th if necessary. And on the 22nd, I'm planning on discussing it during the ad hoc portion of the meeting anyway. And like Micah pointed out, we can also discuss it during closed session. I guess we'll plan on doing that too.
And then the
So
26th,
you
right, is the day before. We still have that Monday before.
Yeah, and we still have the night before. But it's
Yeah.
just nice
and
to,
it was Ricardo who actually wanted to confirm that you guys can talk about it on the 22nd. So I think he might be okay, but we'll double confirm because he wanted me to make sure I asked Katina whether we can do the talking points with the commission on the 22nd. He didn't mention anything about the 21st or 19th. He talked about the 22nd.
yeah, I know yeah, we haven't talked about it until now. So this is our first opportunity to talk about it. And like I was saying in that email, those are my intentions as a part of the NSA ad hoc readout. That's what I was going to discuss. I don't see why we wouldn't be able to discuss that anyway. That's going to be on the agenda. So,
He's here. He's here now. He's
okay.
here. You can ask him.
All right. And I see Inspector General Malouf and
Good evening, everyone.
Ricardo, I see you down there. We're going over the timeline, and then we're going to get to the CMC statement. And what we were discussing is that we have tonight. We're submitting the statement to the city attorney's office tomorrow. So we'll be done with the statement. And then the second part to the CMC is discussing talking points. This is primarily up to you if it's helpful to you. I felt like it seemed like it was helpful last time. So next week we have MLK Day on that Monday. So we had moved the meeting to Tuesday. But since now City Council is meeting to discuss our reappointments that Tuesday, um, I was seeing whether or not people were just available if needed to meet on the 19th. We
What
were
time is y'all's city council?
the same time as last time. I don't know exactly
I think they
when
usually
they'll be
meet.
done.
I'll
Anyways,
check.
yeah, I know. Wait, hold on. Yeah, we can go over all that, but it's a conflict for that date. So what we're discussing is potentially people's availability to meet on the 19th. We were also discussing the 21st, but then we realized that the ad hoc you chair is meeting during that same time, so that won't work. And then I also wanted to discuss it at our general meeting on the 22nd anyway. And we were also discussing uh, discussing it during closed session during the 22nd as well, since it will be on the agenda for the 22nd anyway as an ad hoc readout. So what are your thoughts on meeting on the 19th or just discussing it on the 22nd?
Hey, good evening, everyone. Yeah, thank you, man. So a couple thoughts is if we are meeting just to discuss talking points, we may be able to do that over email and then solidify that in closed session on the 22nd with folks. Primarily with the talking points, they are helpful. I think the CMC statement as is pretty straightforward. And I feel comfortable with the content in it in terms of being able to further expand on anything. The one thing I really did want to be able to take care of for the talking points is actually anything that the group felt that was left out that was key to say, but that wasn't in the actual written document, right? So if there's any other updates from IG's office, from CPRA, anything like that, that I could help fill gaps and verbally explain to the judge anything that we think in addition to what's in the document already. So, because I know there was, we've been voting, we've been trying to get this thing right. But if there's anything burning that folks have where they feel like is really important that's just not in the document, that would be a great point for me to have so I can make sure I touch on those things when I actually talk to the judge.
Okay. All right. So,
Yeah.
that pretty much settles it then.
Yeah. I mean, the 19th, I may be able to meet, but I might also be out of town or be coming back from out of town that night.
So the 19th is going to be challenging, I think, for everybody then.
Okay.
If you decide that it's helpful for you to meet with just the ad hoc people on the 19th, I guess we can leave it open for that potentially. I'll just put that here with like a question mark, and you can let us know, by the end of the week or something, if that's something you want to do. If not, then we'll just plan on discussing it. And you only want to discuss it during closed session on the 22nd, or both, closed and open. I guess we don't. I don't. I'm not sure exactly. I don't see the issue with discussing it in open session. I heard at the last meeting. I listened to the meeting, and you said that you wanted people to do their ad hoc readouts. So I was gonna bring that up as something we can at least talk about or decide what to read out from closed session, I guess, during the readout for the 22nd, or not at all, and just talk about it during closed session. But there is going to be an ad hoc readout portion at the meeting on the 22nd. Isn't that correct?
Yes. And I think the most important thing unless folks feel strongly about having the discussion about talking points in open session, I think the important part is going to be you all sending me any stuff that you feel is burning that you want me to cover. I could compile some stuff in terms of, some of the things I'll touch on from the CMC statement. And then in that closed session to be able to share that with commissioners of what we're thinking, what our angle is going to be in terms of our strategy, and be able to get their feedback and any burning stuff that they have. So we could accomplish that because it's a NSA related, and we could accomplish that in closed session. I think that'll be the most efficient thing. And then in the ad hoc readout, you could talk about just kind of a recap where we're at and next steps, more high level.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm good with that. And that could
Okay.
save us a meeting too, and we just communicate over email. I think that would be the most efficient way to do it.
All right, that sounds like a plan. And then we'll meet as an ad hoc group on the 26th, and then the actual CMC is the following day, the 27th. Any questions about the timeline here?
That's good. And then the 26th, that could give us one last check-in right before in terms of talking points and all that. So that's great. That's fine. That's more than enough.
Right. All right. Anyone else? Any comments, questions? All right, then let's move forward. Thank you for all the input. And this is just our agenda for tonight. We're going to discuss the CMC statement, potentially get to CMC talking points, but we'll see how far we get. All right, so I just was able to review, or I just received the final document from Katina about 30 minutes ago. There was a lot for her to add and wordsmith from the meeting from last Thursday. I appreciate all the hard work that Chair and Katina and anyone else that was involved in putting this together. Um, and so I guess we can just go through it. Um, there's,
Real quick,
yeah,
Omar, she had mentioned in her email that she didn't get a chance to put in something about policy something. I was reading it on my phone right
yeah.
before I hopped on. Do you
I
know what she's
think
talking
that
about on that?
I haven't had a chance to double check yet, but what I think she's talking about is the policy that the commission just approved last Thursday that you were saying that you wanted to have included at our meeting last Monday. The policy that we just approved.
Okay, the M41. All right.
Yeah.
And I don't know, if it needs its own section. I think I may have, when I had sent her the initial hack at some of the edits, I think I may had added a line in there. So we could right now when we review, we can see if it's in there. But I don't know if it needs its own section, as long as it's just mentioned in there as one of the accomplishments.
Yeah, well, I think there is the section with accomplishments where it can easily be put in there. So, and she
Okay.
also said that if we have anything additional tonight that we discuss that we want changed, that she can get to it later tonight. I don't know if she was also able to include Director Lawson's input from like last Monday night or last Tuesday, but we'll see as we go through this. Um, and I listened to the meeting after I got it to work for me, and there is a lot of input, at like the 12th hour of this. So, but I'm glad that people reviewed it and provided their input. I just wish we could have gotten some input sooner. Would have been uh, easier.
I gave our commissioners a hard time for that, Farmer. I don't know if you caught that comment.
I
I was
did.
like,
I
oh,
caught that. I
thanks.
appreciate
Y'all could
you
have
for
told us that
saying
2 weeks
that. I
ago.
mean, they need to know, like we've been talking about this for
Yeah.
6 months. So, yeah, I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah, I had to give them a little snarky comment just to remind them, hey, this is easier when, we could have got a lot more of this feedback in within the ad hoc and not necessarily in the last minute amendments. So, but nonetheless, we got really good input and I think we
Yeah.
landed in a good place.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go over really briefly what that input was, and then we can go over the document. I don't think we're going to have time to get to talking points here, but we'll do our best. So, Commissioner Williams wanted to, a lot of it had to do with ultimately, did we remove the, what is it, section 4 of the, let me just go through it, forget going over what everyone said. All right, statement of the Oakland Police Commission. At its I guess the easiest way is just to read through this. At its last case management conference, this court emphasized, and there's changes to every page, so please be dialed in to where you all had any input or something like that. At its last case management conference, the court emphasized that compliance with the terms of the NSA will necessitate a change in the culture of OPD. According to the court, this culture change will require strong leadership at all levels. Executive leadership has to drive culture. The culture cannot drive leadership. The court's words are important now more than ever. The Oakland Police Commission has begun the process of finding a permanent OPD chief and is excited to continue its work with future leadership, key stakeholders, and the local community on the task of repairing a decades-long culture that, when faced with officer misconduct, often wrongly labels corrective disciplinary action as weaponization and punishment. That was one of the changes, was this line 10 on page 1. And you can see the changes here in red. As this statement confirms, collaboration places the department's feet on the path to culture change and demonstrates that an independent oversight body is a benefit rather than a hindrance to the goal of effective and constitutional policing. Oakland voters overwhelmingly approved Measure LL, which established the Oakland Police Commission as an engine of department reform, composed of 3 parts: a governing body of commissioners, CPRA, and the OIG. The commission was created not only to ensure effective external review of the OPD's disciplinary process, but to step in and function as the primary oversight vehicle once the department reaches compliance with and exits from the NSA. The Commission is therefore committed to an enduring change in department culture, which will extend beyond the lifetime of the NSA Three factors are critical to accomplishing this goal: the Commission's continued effective and productive relationships with key city and community stakeholders, including the Oakland Police Department and an independent OIG. Two, beginning the transfer of certain IAB investigations to CPRA and further standardizing the disciplinary process. And three, the city's commitment to the long-term fiscal stability of the OPC's independent civilian oversight structure, including restoration of funding for the OIG and OPC's administrative functions to allow completion of their charter mandates that will cement constitutional policing within the core of the department. Any questions on section 1? All right, section 2. Constructive independent oversight and action. In recent months, the Commission's role in overseeing the department's policies and procedures has been spotlighted in Oakland amidst recent criticism of certain OPD proposals and the Commission-Department relationship. The Commission has worked diligently with the department to review, revise, and prepare to implement a number of OPD policies. At an October 2025 Commission meeting, the department's liaison to the Commission described how, even in the face of disagreements, both bodies had worked hand in hand in the previous year. What is that? Year to refine. Just got to put a space there. Year to refine policies and resolve challenges. As an example, the Commission consulted with the department on a proposal to revise OPD Special Order 9214. According to OPD, the policy resulted in an administrative burden for captains and sergeants. Via efforts mostly invisible to the public, this consultation brought forth an OPD request for policy modification that received unanimous Commission approval. The newly revised policy is reported to have helped tremendously in reducing officer requests for extensions and in eliminating duplicative reporting, which in turn put more officers on the street while lowering the need for overtime. This policy revision exemplifies how the Commission collaborates with the department to alleviate unnecessary restrictions while ameliorating effective policing. Despite public concerns that OPD policing practices targeted residents of certain races, actually, I'm going to skip down to where there's another edit. The Commission's Racial Profiling Ad Hoc Committee accepted the Inspector General's report, then crafted both a policy update for the department's manual of rules and a culture accountability statement that acknowledged OPD's documented link between modern policing and profiling, harassment of people of color, endorsed by the full Commission. Policy was recently approved by the Chief. The revised policy demonstrates how the independent OIG, the Commission's governing body, and OPD can coordinate to align department policy with national standards for constitutional policing, improve consistency of policy implementation, and increase accountability for officer actions, all of which will advance OPD's compliance with the NSA. I'm going to skip down a little bit. There is just a couple of little wordsmithing. Oakland community became more involved in the process, resulting in the chief himself proposing specific modifications to the pursuit policy. And then it looks like here's maybe a bigger change. At its first meeting of 2026, the Commission also reviewed and unanimously accepted the department's revisions of DGO M4, decimal 1. So that's the policy I was thinking of that wasn't potentially included, but I see it in here. So I'm not sure exactly what Katina was referring to. I'm going to skip because there's nothing new here.
As long as we mention it there, I don't think we need anything more than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then people were also talking about how we're collaborating with the city administrator's office and the mayor's office, maybe. And it looks like we added, finally, the Commission's most significant partnership with Mayor Barbara Lee is its role in appointing an interim chief and hiring a new permanent OPD chief. It talks about interim chief Beer, excuse me. In coordination with the mayor, the Commission intends, just showing that we're coordinating with them. And then this is where we want to add the links to the annual reports. Excellent. Okay, and it did get Director Lawson's input in here in section 3 about the works of CPRA. I'm not going to read through that, but if you see something, Director Lawson, please point it out. It looks like it's exactly the same length as what you sent.
Mm-hmm. Keep scrolling. That's all fine.
That's good. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, that was all fine what I see currently. If you could just keep
Okay.
scrolling.
All right. Yeah. I'll stop when I see something else. There's just like some commas at or a semicolon. Okay, and we're getting
Yeah.
towards the bottom. Now we're at the ensuring commission stability. Let's see what happened here. It
Well,
looks hmm?
there was some stuff that's not there, but I don't think it was necessary. That was more of like a detailed list of the positions that we currently have.
Oh, in section 3?
Right there. And that, yeah, if you look, it would have been, keep going down. I think here, when
Like here?
yeah, I think I added all the positions we currently had.
Well, it says full CPR. Oh, and then you added, well, it says
Let me see if I can find it.
here 7 permanent employees and 3 contractors.
Now, I put in there that we're having a project manager to do retention. Is that there?
Yeah, I remember you had that there. Let's see.
And then it went on to say a new project manager would join in this January 2026. And I said additionally, Citrus hired.
Here it is. The project manager mentioned. I think this is what you mean. Is that it? Make it a little bigger. You're muted though.
Accidentally muted him trying to mute, I think, Shawana. Well, somebody, we've got background noise. I'm trying to figure out who that might be.
Oh, I'm muted already. I was muted.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, Director Lawson, you're still
I don't
muted.
know where that's coming from. Can you guys hear that?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
No, I
Yes,
don't
thank
hear
you.
Okay.
background.
Okay.
I don't hear anything either.
Okay. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay. So is this what you meant, Director Lawson? These include a project man. I remember when you had put that in there, but is this it?
Yeah, no. So it was a bunch more that was, I could tell you. Hold on. I have it up in another document. So I said these include a project manager to manage the retention and reporting on complaint-related data, assume IB tasks, manage the new mediation program, and to decrease the time for the completion of OPD scale review process for officers on administrative leave. Then the new section after that says the new project manager will join CIPRA in mid-January 2026. Additionally, CIPRA has hired a supervisory complaint investigator, 3 permanent line investigators. By February 2026, CIPRA staff will consist of 13 full-time employees, 2 complainant. So just list all of our employees. And I don't know,
You want to add that?
it's not necessary. I just was making sure we had all information. I assume she decided it wasn't necessary. I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's move forward then. Okay.
We was that the only place we mentioned the mediation program
I think I don't
and
think
some of the strides we've made in that?
more than likely that's the only place. Yeah.
Because aside from this now staff, that sentence that included the mediation program, it sounded like an important sentence that you just read off, Director.
Which one did I read that you didn't hear? I said, so these include project manager to manage the retention and reporting on complaint related data, assume IEB transition tasks, manage the new mediation program, and to decrease the time for completion of OPD scale review process for officers on administrative leave. So is that in the current version? I'm reading from an older version.
I mean, this is it. This is the new version.
Okay, but I'm not reading from that. I'm reading from the
I don't.
version I edited before. So I assume it's there. I can't see. Hold on.
Oh, gotcha. But
I'm looking at
but that
another
sentence he
document.
just read is what you have highlighted there, Omar, right? This is the final version.
Is it, I mean, that's what I. Yeah. Wait. Yeah. I think it. I think you're right, Ricardo. Say what you
There's
said
some
again,
stuff
Tony.
missing. What he just read, I
I
think,
don't
is
think. I
more.
don't think everything is there either, though.
So it
Right? Can
sounds
you
like Katina summed up that
So
what he
I'll read
said.
it again. Okay.
read it one more
Okay.
time?
Let's see. So the prior sentence begins. The new mayoral administration has, however, more than doubled SIPRA's budget, allowing the agency to begin recruiting and hiring new staff. These include a project manager to manage the retention and reporting on complaint-related data, assume IEB transition tasks, manage the new mediation program, and to decrease the time for completion of OPD scaling review process for officers on administrative leave.
Okay, so that's all there. So that's important. I think that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then listing out the actual staff is what it looks like it got reduced to
Right.
just
Yeah.
saying a fully staffed CPRA can be the et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, exactly what you said, Ricardo. Okay.
okay, I think that's fine. I think the main part is that part because those touch on some real key
Right.
areas, especially that one key position. So, all right.
Okay. All right. Moving forward, then let's get to this ensuring commission stability section. I know that people wanted to take out like half of this or something. I haven't had a chance to look at this yet, so let's just check it out. In the realm of Oakland administrative bodies, OPC is a fairly new commission. It's 8 years operation. Building it. Did she show what was removed? I don't think so. Okay, let's see.
Mm,
The realm of Oakland, the OPC is a fairly, and it's
you know what we might have to do, Omar, now that I'm looking at this, now that I'm on my laptop.
yeah.
Um, I made an initial uh from my list, made initial edits just to get us going over the weekend.
Mhm.
And then she further refined those and then did a pass through with all the notes with Micah and the recording to make sure everything was flowing correctly. I just started getting the ball moving. It looks like some of the edits that I made aren't being reflected on here. So she might have either already accepted them and these are just the edits that she added on top of that. So if it's helpful, after we look at this, I could pull up the document that I sent her so we could see because that's something glaring right up that yeah, there's a whole section that we removed that right
Yeah.
here you can't really see that it got removed.
Well, do you feel
So
comfortable with what you see here? That it looks like. I mean, this is
as
like
long as it flows, yeah, as long as it's good and flows, that's I think. But if
yeah.
folks are curious on the exact edits that happened right before this, I could also share my document as well too. So that's an
I think
option.
if you could send it to me just for documentation's sake, but I'm fine with
Okay,
it too.
cool. That could work.
So yeah, I don't really. I mean, I'm reading through this right now, and it looks fine to me. I think maybe we had like some details that felt like we were getting in the weeds or it sound adversarial to people that we remove that stuff, and that's fine with me. Um,
And I could tell you that was right before the conclusion, right? Yeah, we ended up we deleted a whole section that talked about um there was a paragraph that talked about the attacks on folks
the
and then city council
incumbents
wanting
and all
OPD
that.
friendly commissioners. Yeah. And so
Mhm.
that whole little section just got removed. Everything
Oh,
else is pretty much what you're looking at right now.
okay. All right. Thank you. And that's kind of
Mhm.
the area that we were struggling with anyway. So I think it's probably better just to remove it anyway. Okay. And then conclusion. Sam had some input into the conclusion section about. Pardon me. So I wrote it down. Line four. Yeah. Remove the
Yeah.
line about physical harm to the OPC. Through its, or we just made it like less specific.
So I think on that one specific, it had previously said lack of support and credible threats of significant harm. That's what Sam had pointed out, and we changed that to saying despite significant challenges. And then she may have changed it even more. Let me see where you're looking at. Where does that leave off?
Here it is. There it is. Despite significant challenges.
Yep. So that's it. So
That's fine. I mean, yeah, I agree with when you say less is more sometimes. So let's just move forward with this. To serve
okay.
as the standard bearer for advancing constitutional policing practices, blah, blah, blah. All right. That looks good to me. Does anyone have any input whatsoever to this at all? Anything additional? Oh, IG Maloof, a couple of meetings ago, we mentioned maybe removing the part about you attending Skelly meetings until you have the opportunity to do that. I'm not sure if we did that. Is that something you wanted to do, or maybe Director Lawson, you pointed that? Somebody pointed that out.
Well, I have attended
Oh, you
a
have?
Scully hearing, yeah, one, and I'm on par to attend more, but I've only attended one so far. And I'm working with OPD to get a schedule going.
Okay. And then did you want to leave that in here if it's in here, or if it's not in here? Uh,
I I don't remember where it is. If we could go to that so I could just see
yeah,
what
I'm
it
trying to
is.
remember where that would be. Let's see, before CPR, it's going to be one or two sections, one or two.
I mean, I'd imagine it would be under the constructive independent oversight and action, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Here was something about the IG and Skelly hearings,
Here it
right?
is.
The
As
city
part of OIG's oversight. Let's see.
has observed one such hearing.
oh,
Hmm.
perfect.
Hmm.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
That's important. That's really important, actually.
So we can just leave it like that, unless you want to add that you're working on getting a schedule. Maybe not even say anything about that until you get the schedule, right?
Well, no, I like the way it is because it's factual that we've attended a Scully hearing. We do have authorization to attend more. We're in the process of doing that, but I don't want to talk about what we're in the process of doing. I'd rather wait and see what happens because I do have a meeting with the chief soon, and I want to kind of hash that out before we say anything further.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay. Um, is there anything else anyone wanted to discuss or add or edit? All right. Well, thank you, Ricardo, for all your work on this. You did the lion's share of this. I've been out sick in the hurt locker for the past week or so. So thank you for doing this and taking the time to correspond with Katina and Micah and everything. And I'm sorry I couldn't make it to the meeting, but it's really just not doing well. Um, all right, so then let's move forward. If there's anyone have anything to add, okay, Micah, is there anyone from the public online?
No one from the public online.
Okay, thank you. All right, then
Mhm.
let's move forward. Maybe we can maybe just start to talk about talking points.
And since this is a public, this meeting is on public record, I just wanted to also say that, I appreciate everybody's work on this. And it takes a lot of input to get us to a final product, right? And we received quite a bit of backlash and I'm glad we heard from the public during the meeting that really I think it might have been Miss Asada that really pointed out that there was some unfair criticism because we hadn't even submitted our final document yet,
Yeah,
right?
that
And
was in
so
there.
I really appreciate the process, as painful as it was, right? It was like painstaking. I'm not painful, but it was very tedious, right? And going and making sure that we get it right. And I do appreciate all of the public's comments and even the criticisms and things for us to think about because it did help us shape our final document while still keeping the essence of what we were trying to say, especially around some of just the factual things that we're facing, right? And not sugarcoating that we're having challenges, but also I think what I appreciated from the discussion on the dais was folks wanting to take a more kind of strength-based approach and kind of removing some of the deficit kind of based language on there. And in reading this right now, it just still feels like it still captures the essence of what we've been trying to say. So I appreciate it. I'm glad we got to the finish line, and now I think more than ever, it's going to be important for me to be succinct with talking points and summarize whatever. If I get a 1 to 3 to 5 minute, I mean, 5 is probably a lot. I'm probably gonna get like a 1 to 3 minute shot to talk to the judge. I'd ask everyone to think about what would be that burning comment or what would be the one thing that we would want the court to walk away with from the what we're doing with and how oversight and action looks like between OIG, CPRA, and OPC, right? And why we're, despite the challenges, why we're still pushing along, and we're going to work with the city to continue to champion our work.
Well,
So
that's
yeah,
a
I just wanted to
perfect.
make that comment.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. That's great. and that's a perfect segue into this part of the agenda. What would folks like the chair to say to the judge? Is there anything that anyone would like to share now? Anything. It doesn't have to be perfectly refined. Any ideas, anything you want to put out there? I know that Inspector General Maloof, like last time, you have been hoping to say something about your position and the status of you. And I really like all this additional information we have about CPRA in this time. Director Lawson, I'm not sure if you had something you would like to communicate with the court, or Vice Chair Booker, anything that you've heard maybe other folks say that will be helpful for us to relay to the court. Any personal thoughts that you have? Anyone?
Well, I'd rather do it offline and speak with the chair about something that's on my mind. I'm not sure if I want to address it in the court or not, but we can speak offline on the one thing that I'm thinking about.
Okay. Well, is
And
there anything that anyone would like to say? Do you want to say
No,
something, Sandra?
I
go ahead,
don't.
Louis. Sure.
I'm not that sure, what type of platform we'll have, if it's similar to last time, or if we even need to say it. We didn't highlight. But I think in the future, either way, it's important for us to really name what we've done and what we're doing and all of those things, because in every article that is talking about the commission and our work and all of this stuff, and we're the problem, but there's no data to support
Hmm.
that we're the problem. And I really feel inspired and called this, at least this year, to ask, where's the proof? Where's the proof? Where's the proof? Where's the proof that we made it difficult for the chief? Where's the proof? Where's the proof that we didn't do these things? And I think in terms of the judge perspective, we don't have to be on the defensive. We could be on the offensive and just highlight, our work. But the narrative is very interesting, and quite frankly, I'm quite tired of it.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I agree with you on communicating that in some sort of way. I think what you said right now is helpful, even if it's not like specific. I want X, Y, and Z to be said. I think maybe communicating that type of message helps the chair think about the type of message he wants to give to the court. And we're more than likely, it's going to be, I mean, the judge can do whatever he wants to do, but it's more than likely going to be the same setup where the different people go and speak to the judge. There's no definitive period of time, but I would say you get at least 2 to 3 minutes, maybe up to 5 minutes, until he may cut you off or something. But the chief of police, for example, had those long prepared remarks last time and
Hmm.
spoke for a minute. The prosecuting attorneys had a lot of things to say. It spoke for a lot. And Mayor Lee didn't, overspeak or anything, but I mean, she had what she wanted to say as well, and the commission is right there. And I think maybe I would like what you're saying communicated as well. I mean, in some sort of constructive way. So thank you for
Yeah.
the input. Is there anything else that anyone else would like that they feel comfortable talking about
Now,
publicly?
following what Commissioner Booker just said, I I was recently approached by some members of the public at the last meeting last Thursday, and they were saying, there is information that keeps being disseminated that CIPRA is holding up the compliance potential with task two, that we're not moving these cases along fast enough, and that OPD is trying to blame CIPRA. And I specifically inquired of the city attorney's office when we became aware that we're not gonna meet compliance again on that task, whether CIPRA had any impact, and I was told clearly none at all. That no matter what CIPRA would have done, I did in this case, that it was all based on OPD's failures. And so I'm repeating what Commissioner Booker saying is we keep getting these allegations that are brought out there with no supporting evidence. And at some point, we got to call upon the people in the community who are making these, you know, um, allegations to provide some support for them, because they just keep ringing throughout the community. They keep getting in the media, but there's no truth at all to what's going on with the commission or CIPRA or OIG's office. And at some point, we have to address it. And at our next meeting, commission meeting, I will address that CIPRA has not in any way impeded compliance with the 180-day task period of the NSA, and I'll make that clear at our next meeting.
Right. Yeah, thank you. I think it's time for us to, yeah, do that.
Yeah, I like the idea of going on the offensive, and that's kind of the idea behind the director's action plan is for us to like go on the offensive in terms of requesting information and just being proactive instead of being reactive to their narratives that constantly get kicked around. Chair, do you have your hand up?
Yes, sir. So I'm pretty confident to that point, right? Uh, I'm I'm pretty confident in going into the court because I think part of what was twisted and kind of misconstrued, maybe we weren't clear, maybe it was just kind of misunderstood, was what we meant by being, the last statement of what we meant by the co-director action plan and trying to, have the court grant us that title or whatever that might be, right? What it really was saying is we want some damn respect in this, some teeth in the game, right? That we're not just like this sideline party that's just observing stuff. And when it comes to the critical goals of accomplishing sustained culture change, we start off our CMC statement with 3 key points, right? Um, that what we feel is key to the sustained culture change. So I would love to go up to the court and say, hey, this is what we meant last time. And whether it was well received or misunderstood, we continue to move forward and putting this thing into action, no matter what you want to call it, right? Um, and and we're pretty and then we have some pretty good examples from each of our offices and our efforts that we've been a part of and leading since the last case management conference in these 3 different areas, right? That we laid out, right? The commission's effective and productive relationship with key stakeholders, the transition from IAB to CIPRA and standardizing the disciplinary process, and then that's where I could also talk about the city championing and supporting the long-term stability of the OPC, right? And even despite challenges, we're still humming, and we're going to prove ourselves and continue to prove ourselves and force the city to be able to restore funding and to be able to work with us as a collaborative partner, right? Maybe that's part of my nonprofit career thinking and kind of how I operate. But like I've been involved in violence prevention for over 20 years, and the city's always underfunded us. They've never supported best practices and things that really support them, right? And you almost have to prove and show, and then they say, oh yeah, you know what? Actually, we should get behind this, and then let's get some funding behind this, right? And oh, how did we not fund y'all from the very beginning, type thing, right? And so at this point, we are dealing with the budget deficit. We've had our administrative budget slashed. IG's dealing with some significant budget challenges. And we want to continue to show that despite that, we're being effective. We could provide a unique lens that has a proximity that the federal judge doesn't have, right? And despite whatever happens on that end and whatever the court decides, if and when they're ready to let us off this federal oversight or go into a sustainability period, we're going to be ready to continue to do the work that we're doing. And so I think within those 3 buckets that we provided to the court already in our CMC statement, right, we clearly started our statement saying these are the 3 areas that we think are going to lead to long-term sustainable sustained culture change. So I would like to even tell the court, say, hey, from the very beginning, just trying to kind of, like I said, get on that offensive and demand my 3 to 5 minutes and say, Your Honor, I have, we believe that these, you asked us last time to come up with what are the things that we feel like are going to lead to this long-term sustained culture change. And these are the 3 areas that we've identified. And you see it in our CMC statement, and then further expand in each of those 3 buckets what CPRA, IG, and OPC is doing in each of those 3 areas. And I think that would be a good way to hit them. And if I and I was talking to Katina, and just in that court setting, I think if I present it to the court and say, hey, these are the 3 areas I would like to present that I think we've been making some headway in culture change, I'm sure the judge will let me finish my talking points and covering all 3 of those areas and just being succinct and giving some concrete examples from each of the things that we're doing right now that we think is really important. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now in terms of initially of how I was going to address the court.
we be, I don't know whether this will happen or not, but should we be prepared to say anything about the chief search? Since that's, right, it's something we're actively doing, and it is relevant to this whole NSA piece. Hello?
It might come up, so you may
Yeah.
want to be prepared to talk about it.
Yeah, that I'm just thinking it might. And I want to make sure that Ricardo's ready to say something about it, whatever that may be.
I'm the judge. I'm gonna ask about it. What's the stat?
Yep.
What's the impact and what's the status and what's gonna, what do you anticipate doing?
Es- Especially since we're focusing on culture, right?
Right.
He's the one that has to initiate that.
Yeah, I really appreciate everything that you said, Ricardo. Sorry I had to get up
That's
and
okay.
but I could hear you talking. And I really appreciate that summary. Um, really appreciate what everyone has said here. Um, I also would like it communicated to the court about how, we're working to drive culture change, how we're trying to be more proactive, talking specifically about things that we want to do that we talked about in the last CMC statement that maybe people were unclear about. Um, Something like that. Maybe I'll think of something and send it to you or just talk about it in closed session as well. But I think what we've talked about tonight is a good start on the kind of talking points that we want to have for the CMC. Um, any other input from anyone? All right. And then in terms of the CMC itself, uh, who's planning on being there?
I plan to be
Plan
here.
on being there.
Thank you.
Shawana, are you coming?
Probably. I just put it on my calendar right now.
Okay.
It's a Tuesday, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
definitely want to go. Tuesdays are a bit harder for me to um do things, but I could probably come.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm planning on being there as well. I believe it's still at 3 o'clock. Sometimes they'll like reschedule it for a little bit later, but uh,
The last case management conference, I was already in the city, but I think I'm going to be coming from Oakland on this one. So if y'all want to coordinate carpooling too, it might be easier that way too, because parking sucks around that area.
yeah, it does. Okay. All right. Is there anyone from the public here? Still no.
Still no.
Okay, great. All right. I don't have anything else to add. And then this is our timeline here again. So we're not going to meet. So what is today? The 12th. So you're going to submit the statement to the city attorney's office like sometime early tomorrow or midday tomorrow. I guess we have no additions to the version that Katina has. So there's nothing else to do with it. You can submit what she gives you.
Okay.
All
We
right.
just have to add, Micah, we just have to add those live links to each of our annual reports.
Okay. I'll work with Katina tomorrow on
And
that, and
then, but did
we'll get
Director
it sent out.
Lawson's stuff get cut out? Did we decide on that?
It actually ended up being in there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
Yeah.
All
So, Sheriff
right.
Harmon, I'll work with Katina on that. It doesn't have to be sent tomorrow morning. But I'll work with her on getting it out tomorrow for us.
Okay, great. So we're going to do that. Tomorrow will be submitted. And then we're going to, if we think we need to meet on the 19th, we can try and do that. But pretty much there's no meeting next week unless we make a decision by the end of the week to do that. So let's just say right now there's no meeting, no ad hoc meeting. The next time we're going to discuss this is in closed session at the commission meeting. And then during open session, I'll just do a high level recap of what we discussed in closed session. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. And then after that, we'll discuss this again the day before the event. Someone say something? Okay, and then between uh, our next meeting and now, if you have anything in terms of a talking point that you want to communicate to the chair, please just send an email. Micah, if you can just send out a confirmation email once you send the statement to the city attorney's office, that would be great.
Mhm.
And just trying to think if there's anything else. I can't think of anything else that we need to discuss tonight. So, um, any other by the ways, comments, anything, feedback?
I'm glad you're feeling better, or at least on the mend, on the right direction.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Yeah, be
Yes.
careful. This flu thing that's going around is like no joke. It'll like take you down. So,
Yeah, Sam is really sick too right now.
Yes, he
Yeah.
was.
yeah. And then what was I was going to say something? I forgot. I lost my train of thought. But no, thank you for that. And I will see you all, I guess, at the general meeting on the 22nd.
Okay. Good
Good
evening.
evening, all. Bye.
All
Good
all
night.
right. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
You
Bye.
too.